I have a lot of moisture building up in my house. Is this really a problem? Moisture can really be a problem, but we need to look at it and understand how it can be a problem and where it can be a problem. I won't get into all the building aspects as far as getting trapped behind walls, but I do want to deal with it from an air quality standpoint, um, which certainly is affected by moisture being there. Moisture, some of the things we need to understand about it are how it moves. And again, we're back to physics. So moisture will always move from wet things to dry things. And it will also move from warm things to cold things. So knowing that tells us a little bit how it's going to behave. Here in the Northeast in the wintertime, the air outside very cold. If you think about the air molecule as a container, it's really small. Okay, really doesn't hold a lot of moisture. Inside of our house is where that air molecule is not at 4 below like today, but it's at 70. That container is a whole lot bigger. Plus, we have a lot of moisture source in the house. And depending upon how many people are in the house is certainly a factor that's going to produce moisture. But plants will produce moisture. We water them and they breathe, release moisture. Pets, don't ever exhaust your clothes dryer into your house. It's a really bad idea. Moisture is one of the problems with that. Moisture also will want to seep in through our foundation. So there's a lot of potential sources of moisture. If the house is poorly constructed or there's some breaches, some of the moisture, certainly in the summertime, will come in from the outside. But in the wintertime, when houses are closed up, generally speaking, we've got more moisture on the inside, and it's trying to work its way to the outside. So is that really a problem? Well, one of the first places we see this is on the windows. The air molecule that's holding the water gets up against the window. The window's cold, so we have heat loss. The heat loss goes out of the air molecule, and as it shrinks down, if it gets cold enough and there's enough moisture in that air, it will spill that moisture out onto the window, and that's why you'll see moisture down at the bottoms of your window. Okay, or if you've got a bad window where the pane's in the middle, it's a larger window, and they're actually a little bit closer together in the middle, you might see moisture right in the middle of your window. Okay, that's because there's more heat loss there than there is around the outside where the two panes are farther apart. So the moisture accumulating on the windows is a potential problem, because as that moisture would drip down, then it provides enough moisture for mold to grow. And mold then becomes a problem for our indoor air quality because it releases spores into the air. It's also a problem for the house because the mold needs to eat something to live, and what it eats is the wood. One of the challenges is that mold getting behind the walls where we can't see it and growing. I don't need to deal with that, but that's an issue we need to look at. So moisture certainly will present an issue from an air quality standpoint, because when we get enough moisture, mold will grow, and then mold will produce spores and release those into the air. So if you see moisture building up in your house, it's a problem for you. It's also a problem for the house. And it is a symptom that may indicate that you do not have enough air movement. If we're looking at a humidity level that we should be at in the wintertime here in the Northeast, if we were looking at a scale, we looked at all the parameters, 50% would be an ideal spot to be. Problem with 50% here in the Northeast, when it's 0 degrees outside, it's too much moisture in that air molecule. As it brushes up against the window, it will condense on the window. So really the levels we should be looking at, the levels between 30 and 60% are deemed comfortable for human beings. And when you look at bacteria growth and virus growth and all the things, it's a good range to stay within. But in the wintertime here in the Northeast or anywhere that it gets cold, we really should be shooting somewhere around 35%. Ideally, you would track it as it got colder, you'd lower the humidity. As it got warmer, you'd raise it back up. For the average person like myself, I'm not going to sit there every day and dial down my setting on my air exchange system to move more air to dry. I think that's too complicated for most of us. Certainly for me it is. So if we shoot at 35%, it's a pretty good place to be. When it gets really cold, you see a little bit of moisture. As it warms up during the day, that moisture will disappear. So, but mold growth for moisture would certainly be a problem for us and for the structure.